The whole world is amazed to see what happened Tuesday afternoon in Lebanon when thousands of pagers operated by the Iranian-backed terrorist organization Hezbollah suddenly exploded, leaving several terrorists dead and thousands more wounded. It seems like something out of a James Bond movie, but it happened in the real world, and details about how it was carried out began to emerge on Wednesday morning. Reports indicate that explosives were placed inside the pagers at the point of manufacture in Budapest, Romania, where a Taiwanese company named Gold Apollo had issued a license to a local firm named BAC, consulting to manufacture its products. Meanwhile, an explosion in Damascus revealed a failed plot by Hezbollah to assassinate a former Israeli security official. Elsewhere, a senior jihadist who was in charge of rocket attacks into Israel that were launched from Rafah in the southern Gaza Strip has been eliminated, and final proof has emerged that Hamas leader Yair Sinwar is not interested in a ceasefire deal that would include the release of the Israeli hostages. Hamas and other terrorist organizations are also under extreme pressure from the IDF in Judea and Samaria. Let's dive into the details. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your boots on the ground report about what is happening in Israel on the 348th day of the war against Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, and all its terror proxies in Yemen, Iraq, and Syria. Before we start with today's report, I will ask you to take a moment to click the subscribe button so that you will never miss an episode of Boots on the Ground. After the unprecedented event throughout Lebanon, when in one moment about 5,000 pager devices exploded, senior American officials told the New York Times that Israel carried out the operation against Hezbollah. They added details, including the fact that the explosives were implemented into the pagers, which were manufactured in Taiwan before shipped to Lebanon. Elsewhere, it was reported on the El Monitor website that Israel decided to activate the pager program after Hezbollah operatives suspected that something was suspicious about them and threatened to reveal the whole operation. In other words, the plan had to be activated or the opportunity would be lost. The Lebanese Minister of Health told local media in Lebanon that at least 11 people were killed and more than 5,000 were injured in that incident. It was also reported that Iran's ambassador to Lebanon lost an eye as a result of the explosion of a pager carried by his Hezbollah bodyguard. Let's touch on that in a moment, but first, let's understand how the operation was carried out. According to the sources, the devices ordered by Hezbollah from the Gold Apollo company in Taiwan were sabotaged before arriving to Lebanon. Most of the devices were from the AP924 model, but the shipment also included 3 other models produced by the same company. It is claimed that a small amount of explosive material between 28 and 56 grams was planted near the battery in each detector, along with a switch that could be operated remotely. At 3:30 Lebanon time on Tuesday afternoon, the Hezbollah operatives who had been issued these devices received a message that appeared to come from the Hezbollah leadership. The devices were programmed to beep for several seconds before detonation, giving the terrorists time to take the device in their hands and hold them up near their faces to look at the message on the screen, and then the message activated the explosives. Hezbollah accused Israel of carrying out the attack, but did not elaborate on its understanding of how Israel did it. Israeli officials have not commented on the accusations and would neither confirm nor deny Israeli involvement. Independent cybersecurity experts who have studied the footage from the incident claim that it is clear that the intensity and the speed of the explosions were caused by some type of explosive device. This refutes the theory that the batteries in the devices were programmed to overheat and explode, which is what some analysts initially guessed that has happened. To give some analysis of my own, this attack hit Hezbollah in their Achilles heel because it disabled a key means of communication, as well as putting dozens of their most senior, highly trained, and capable people out of action for some time. Their ability to function will be greatly affected by this, and it might even convince them that they need to back off and stop attacking Israel before they get into really serious trouble. In any case, videos from CCTV cameras of the moment when the pagers exploded and images of the injured soon flooded social media all across Lebanon. There were many images of men with severed fingers and other injuries all across their faces, legs, and worse. Other videos from emergency rooms in hospitals all over Lebanon showed chaotic scenes of wounded men being cared for, sometimes as they lay on the floor, because there were far too many wounded for everyone to be treated in a bed or even on a table. Calls soon went out for people to come to the hospitals and donate blood, but some reports indicate that this only added to the chaos, as few hospitals were ready to receive large numbers of people who wanted to donate. The videos from the moment of the explosion often included uninvolved civilians running away in panic, probably thinking that the explosion was caused by a drone strike. As news about the attack spread, WhatsApp groups began to share audio, pictures, and video clips, which got worse by the moment, demonstrating the fear and panic that this incident had prompted in the general population of Lebanon. Inevitably, an official statement came from Hezbollah, darkly threatening to retaliate for this extraordinary attack. The BBC commented that it seems that the organization considers what happened today as an escalation, and it is not clear what will happen next. One thing we know will not happen next is that several hundreds of Hezbollah fighters will not be joining in whatever response Hezbollah is planning next, because they are too badly wounded to do so. In fact, sources in Lebanon told the El Hadet news portal that about 500 Hezbollah members lost the use of their eyes when the pagers that they were holding in front of their eyes exploded. The Sky News Network published an analysis piece late Tuesday evening saying that the deadly explosions of the pagers belonging to Hezbollah will cause enormous embarrassment and sow chaos. It really looks like a scene from a Hollywood spy movie. Israel has not taken responsibility, but all fingers will be pointed at the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency known for its many resourceful attacks against Israel's enemies. An obvious question that came into the minds of many people when they first heard about this story was, why would Hezbollah still be using pagers? And I wondered about that myself. I won't tell you how old I am, but pagers were considered obsolete and were already being replaced by cell phones before I even started kindergarten. The answer to this question contains measures of both irony and tragedy, at least from the perspective of Hezbollah. The Reuters news agency reported that Hezbollah uses pagers to evade Israeli surveillance and avoid giving Israel the ability to track the movements of their operatives so they can be targeted for assassinations. You might remember how Israel used explosives planted in cell phones of Yahya Aisha, the senior Hamas bomb maker, whose nickname was the Engineer, to assassinate him in January of 1996. Everyone also knows that Israel uses cell phones to track the movements of senior terrorists so they can be targeted by drone strikes when they are moving out in the open. Apparently, Hezbollah thought that by using pagers instead of cell phones, they could avoid this problem. Instead, the pagers that they bought recently from this company in Taiwan brought the explosives just inches away from the heads of 5,000 of their operatives, and instead of one or two of them a week getting taken out, they all got hit at the same moment. I have a comment to make on all of this. Hezbollah and all of Israel's other enemies should learn a lesson from this incident. And that lesson is that they are hopelessly outclassed. Israel knows everything about them, even the names of their individual members who try to hide in civilian clothes among civilian neighborhoods. If they continue to insist on making war on Israel by firing rockets at our communities and threatening ground invasions like the October 7 massacre, we will strike back at them with ever-increasing precision and violence. Even their attempt to use the civilian population of Lebanon as human shields will not help them. Furthermore, it is obvious that at this moment Hezbollah is very vulnerable to a conventional military attack by the IDF. The chaos and the displacement that this attack caused among Hezbollah's rank, together with the extensive damage Israel has done to their rocket launching capabilities in recent weeks, will make it very difficult for them to stop the IDF if an order is given to push the terrorist organization north from the border. All of Israel's enemies, as well as their friends, are watching to see what happens next. Now, let's take a look at what Hezbollah has to say about all of this. An official statement from the organization finally came out late Tuesday evening, and surprisingly, the initial statement did not blame the exploding pagers on Israel. Instead, the statement simply gave a quick report on what was already generally known, adding a detail that an unidentified young female was among those killed by the explosions, along with some Hezbollah operatives. The Voice of the Capital news website, which is an affiliate of the Syrian opposition, reported at the same time about a car explosion in Damascus, the capital of Syria, caused by the explosion of a radio belonging to a Hezbollah official. This was one of several explosions in Syria, according to local Syrian news reports. The Syrian Center for Monitoring Human Rights, an opposition organization to the Assad regime that is operating from London, reported that there are 14 wounded whose nationality is unknown in the explosions of radios all across Syria. In Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Yoav Gallant, the defense minister, and the heads of the defense establishment held a meeting late Tuesday at the IDF headquarters in Tel Aviv. IDF commanders have held assessments of the situation and put their units on high alert, although there was no immediate change in the instructions to the civilians from the Home Front Command. Meanwhile, a spokesman from the American State Department, Matthew Miller, referred to the explosion of the radios in Lebanon and Syria on Tuesday evening, saying that the United States is gathering information about the incident as was not involved and did not know about it in advance. Here at TBN Israel, we will continue to update you about the developments going forward. Please help us by sharing our videos on YouTube and subscribing to this YouTube channel. You can also receive real-time updates at our website, tbnisrael.com/news. Air raid alarms were activated in several communities in Israel's Galilee region in the north on Tuesday evening, and a UAV was intercepted over the Israeli city of Tiberias. IDF units deployed in the north were on high alert to defend against any retaliation by Hezbollah, and Wednesday morning saw large-scale air and artillery strikes on Hezbollah positions in an apparent attempt to discourage such retaliation. However, Lebanon's foreign minister said that a harsh response should be expected, telling the New York Times that Hezbollah will certainly respond in a significant way. Another story to come out of all of this was the wounds suffered by Iran's ambassador to Lebanon, Mujtaba Amani, when the pager carried by his Hezbollah bodyguard exploded along with all the others on Tuesday afternoon. An official statement by the regime in Tehran said that his injuries were caused by shrapnel and not by the blast itself, and that his wounds were not so serious. However, other reports have surfaced that he lost an eye, which sounds pretty serious to me. It is also important to mention that the exploding pagers came following reports of an attempt by Hezbollah to smuggle explosives into Israel to be used in an attack on a senior Israeli security official. The Klimagor, this is a type of device that was reportedly discovered in recent days by the Shin Bet, which released a statement saying that the device is similar to one that was used in a terrorist attack in Tel Aviv's Yarkon Park last September. It includes a remote detonating device that incorporated a camera and a cell phone, which would allow Hezbollah to detonate it remotely when the official was close to that bomb. This is the third Hezbollah device seized in Israeli territory in the last 2 years, and it's a reminder to everyone to stay vigilant. Please continue to really support us so that we can continue to bring you up-to-date and detailed content about what is happening in Israel. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel and share the truth with anyone who wants to know what is happening in Israel. And if you want to donate to our work here at TBN Israel, go to our website at tbn.org/give. TBN.com/Israel or click the donate button on YouTube. Switching our focus to the Gaza Strip, where the IDF has eliminated the commander of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad rocket unit in the city of Rafah. The IDF spokesperson's office announced on Tuesday that Ahmed Aish Salma El-Khashash had been eliminated in an airstrike the previous Sunday, but the IDF made another announcement on Wednesday morning, and this one was very sad. An explosion in Rafah on Tuesday killed 4 IDF soldiers named Captain Daniel Maimon, 23 years of age, a deputy company commander in the Givati Brigade's Shaked Battalion from Moreshet. Staff Sergeant Agam Naim, 20 years of age, a paramedic with the 401st Armored Brigade's 52nd Battalion from Mishmarot. Staff Sergeant Amit Bakri, 21 years of age, from the Givati Brigade's Shaked Battalion from Yushevia, and Staff Sergeant Dotan Shimon, 21 years of age, from the Givati Brigade's Shaked Battalion from Elazar. Naim was the first female IDF soldier killed in action in Gaza since this war began. What we know so far is that as part of an operational activity of the 401st Brigade Combat Team, these soldiers went out to scan and locate an IED in a building in the Tel El Sultan neighborhood of the city. At some point, and for a reason that is still being investigated, a fatal explosion occurred in the building. After the explosion, vehicles and helicopters were launched to evacuate the wounded to the Soroka Medical Hospital in Beersheba. The IDF is investigating the incident and trying to understand in depth what caused the explosion. According to the IDF data, 713 soldiers have fallen since the beginning of the war, and this includes 346 soldiers who have been killed since the beginning of the ground maneuver in Gaza. Last week, the IDF reviewed the main points of the defeat of the Rafah Brigade of Hamas, which was achieved about a month and a half ago. The IDF noted last week that in the Tel El Sultan neighborhood, where the 6 hostages were murdered in a tunnel, several small pockets of resistance still remain. From the data of Division 162, which operated in the area, it emerged that 800 of the 2,308 Hamas terrorists killed in Rafah were killed in the Tel El Sultan neighborhood, including the Hamas headquarters and the commanders of the companies under it. Please continue to spread the truth, share, and follow our videos. Subscribe to this YouTube channel so that more people will understand what is happening in Israel and that they can pray for the situation. Pass on our reports so that more people are aware of the truth of what is happening in Israel. In an interview with the New York Times published this week, Khaled Mashal, one of the surviving leaders of Hamas, made the incredible statement that Hamas has the upper hand and that the organization remains steadfast and has brought the IDF to a state of exhaustion. He also emphasized that Hamas is not striving for a ceasefire and will not give up on ending the war, even though Israel claims that they killed thousands of Hamas fighters, dismantled the command structure of most of the battalions, and destroyed the network of tunnels underneath the Gaza Strip. But Mashal dismisses all of this, saying that the very survival of Hamas is a victory, even if the organization has weakened significantly. He emphasized that Hamas is in no rush to reach a ceasefire at any cost and will not give up on its main demands for an end to the war and an Israeli retreat from the Gaza Strip. I want to conclude by paying my last respects to these soldiers who gave their lives to defend the state of Israel. Once again, their names were Captain Daniel Maimon Toaf, 23 years of age, a deputy company commander in the Givati Brigade's Shaked Battalion from Moreshet. Staff Sergeant Agam Naim, 20 years of age, a paramedic with the 401st Armored Brigade's 52nd Battalion from Mishmarot. Staff Sergeant Amit Bakri, 21 years of age, from the Givati Brigade Shaked Battalion from Yushevia. And Staff Sergeant Dotan Shimon, 21 years of age, from the Givati Brigade's Shaked Battalion from Elazar. In another battle in the south of the Gaza Strip, a combat officer in the Givati patrol was injured. So guys, please keep spreading the truth. and pray for the soldiers of the IDF. Pray for their peace in this war. Pray for the peace of their families back at home. Pray for the abductees, the hostages, to be reunited with their loved ones back at Israel. Please pray for all the civilians that are affected by this conflict because of these evil terrorist organizations. And most importantly, please unite in prayer for the peace of Jerusalem.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.